Hey guys, I'm back with my new co-host, Andre Escobar.
Hey, people.
Yay! So, we got a lot of good feedback from our first episode, which is a lot of fun. I think that me and you get to have a lot of fun doing this. And we are ready to start uh, recording our second episode. So, episode two, Conversations with Danette. We are on Spotify with our audio podcast, but we are on YouTube with our video podcast. So, I guess just let's dig in. Um, Today's topic is going to be about the movie The Sound of Freedom. And this is something that I always try to let people know that everything I do with Conversations with the Net is a reflection. It's not a production. So it's just about talking about what the hell we are experiencing in real time. So, Andre, before I mentioned it to you, had you heard about the movie Sound of Freedom?
Never,
Never? Have
never.
you heard about child sex trafficking?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And what have you been exposed to when it comes to child sex trafficking and politics, like in recent politics, like within the last 6 years? Have you heard just on your own the things that I've kind of heard about sex
Like
trafficking?
Epstein's Island
Oh yeah, Epstein
and
Island.
how Obama and all
Mhm.
of them and Hillary and everybody went and visited. And what was that? Ellen DeGeneres was supposedly named, Oprah Winfrey, like all of these people that were supposed to be
Oh wow.
involved in this sex trafficking
Oh,
ring.
okay. So I didn't hear that much about it. So that's what you
Oh,
heard. Oh, I kind of in passing have heard that, like Epstein, but not all
yeah.
of these other people involved. Which of course, I come from the angle that I'm a Democrat or whatever, and I started recognizing these types of stories from social media posts where people were having these extreme views about child sex trafficking. I even had a person who was on my phone, a customer who had called in. It wasn't necessarily about child trafficking, but it had the it was reminiscent of the idea of child sex trafficking because she was saying that there's a white van outside of her house, and this is when I was working for UPS. So this is when I was a contract worker. So it was peak season. It was like the holiday season, and it was probably 2020. I would think this was 2020 peak season, and she was talking about how she was asking us if we have temporary drivers who work out of their cars, and we said yes, we do. And she goes, because they've been driving the neighborhood and they feel like they're about to call the police, but they called us to try to see if they're really from UPS. I'm like, yes, they are UPS. Please don't call the police on our UPS delivery drivers. They're just trying to get you your packages. And then she went into uh she made it seem as if somehow there's this rampant new thing happening where people are putting like bombs on people's porches. And I'm like, and I started Googling it while I was on the phone with her. And I was like, explaining to her, like, there's only one incident that I could even find in the United States that happened. Because she was making it seem as if it's happening every week or something. And I'm like, when I said something to her, she said, let me speak to your supervisor because you act like you don't believe me. And I'm like, it's because I believe you that I Googled it. I believed you, and I was shocked, and it was the first I'd heard of it. And she just became so what you call it, so
Irate.
irritated that I was like, okay, just gonna get you to the supervisor, ma'am. And I literally was kind of wondering. It left a bad taste in my mouth for that day that somebody was so adamant about number one, trying to get me in trouble. I just took care of you, lady. And number two, asserting something that just was not necessarily true. And this is kind of where we are going with this particular conversation. So, um, what else? Let's see. So the one thing I do want to go through, and I know you don't have it with you, so I just have to go through this real quick just to bring context to why the Sound of Freedom has sparked this type of a conversation. My best friend has told me that it has nothing to do with the movie. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with the movie, but it does have something to do with why the movie is suddenly becoming so popular. So let me read this about Pizzagate. So this all started in, around the 2016 elections. Pizzagate is a conspiracy theory that began to spread in March of 2016. The personal email of Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman was hacked. And let's see. If and in November of 2016, proponents of the Pizzagate conspiracy theory falsely claimed the emails contained coded messages that connected several high-ranking Democratic Party officials. And so, U.S. restaurants with an alleged human trafficking. Oh, this is not making sense. Okay, so let me just start from here. In March 2016, the personal email account of John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign chair, was hacked in a spear phishing attack. WikiLeaks published his emails in November 2016. Proponents of Pizzagate conspiracy theory falsely claimed the emails contained coded messages that connected several high-ranking Democratic Party officials and U.S. restaurants with an alleged human trafficking and child sex ring. Even to the point where one of the establishments allegedly involved was the Comet Ping Pong Pizzeria in Washington, D.C. Now, just to make a long story short, because I'm not going to read all that, a guy actually went to that Comet pizza place and shot a rifle inside the pizza place to open up a storage room, where he thought children were being held. And so my point is to just put out into the universe that sometimes when you create a narrative and it's not necessarily true, but it incites emotions within people, you can cause something to happen that was never the intention, because people will try to act on it, almost trying to be the hero of these poor kids that they believe are being abused in one of the most egregious acts. So that's another thing that I think people believe, that if you're not completely all in, saying, "Oh yeah, we got to stop this problem," it means that you're against it. And no, I think child trafficking trafficking is egregious. It's the worst kind of human behavior, and we all want to kind of not be involved in anything close to what that is, and we want to stop anybody who is doing that. So, we haven't seen the movie, right? Are we going to go see the movie this week, Andre?
We can go see the movie this week.
We're going to have to go see the movie because what we don't want to do is speculate. So, we are going to not do a review on the movie, but we are going to talk around the issues surrounding this particular movie. So I've done my research, which I always do.
Wait,
And
so you
go ahead.
mentioned that your best friend said that it had nothing to do with the movie. So I'm assuming that her comment meant that Pizzagate had nothing to do with the movie, right?
True, it doesn't. But unfortunately, because of the atmosphere of these particular people, so the alt-right, whatever you want to call them, the Republican Party, the people who fall within that line of, or align themselves with that thinking, conservative views and values, um, are gravitating to the movie based on this other situation and information. It has nothing to do with the movie, but the movie just happens to be in alignment with their line of thinking, and they are kind of the almost like the wind beneath the wings of this movie, which is what I'm trying to point out, that the reason why her friend told her about it is her friend is a right wing supporter. So it's kind of getting the word of mouth through the right wing, and the right wing who have friends who are not.
Your best friend white?
She's Puerto Rican. So to me, she's black, but
What is she to her?
she has acknowledged the fact that she is not black because she is more
White.
Hispanic than black. But
white.
her mom was dark like me to a certain degree. Her mom was brown, a skinned woman. Her children are brown
So
skinned people.
wait, I want to establish this.
Hmm.
Black isn't necessarily
A color.
a race or a color.
Uh-huh.
You know
Right,
what I
right,
mean?
right.
It's more so a
Yeah, yeah.
culture.
You're
You know what
right.
I'm saying? So
So
even
to
with
me,
her
she's
mom
black.
being like a dark skin
Hmm.
tone, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but how do what culture do she embody? How does she present herself? Like, who is she?
Um,
Like, what do she support?
Both. The problem is she is both. So she's almost like mixed race to me. Like she might as well be biracial or something like that because she has straight curly hair. She has olive skin. But
Is
she's
the hair
always
straight or curly?
identified more so to me as black. So that's hard to understand.
Is it because
Um,
she was your friend and you black?
she's more black than me. It's because of her cultural identity. Her cultural identity is more so black to me.
You saying Puerto
So
Rican?
she's Puerto Rican. Yeah. To me, she's more black than me because like I'm already black, but I speak proper. It's like I used to like white guys. I used to, and she kind of educated me about the beauty of black men and blah blah blah. And she was a her she had a her first her baby's father, her two children. He's black and he was part of the Black Israelites, and they were more like extreme. You know what I mean? They were extremists to a certain degree. They were even thought of as a cult in the according to the FBI. But they were the people who were at the beach at Venice Beach used to make white people kiss their feet. Did you ever know about that
No,
or hear about the
I
Black
didn't. Nah,
Israelites? No,
no.
they
Not
are
white
like,
people kissing their feet. I heard about black Israelites, but
yeah, they used to be at Venice Beach where they wear these long robes. They're always tall black men with beards, and they would dress like basically in Muslim attire, just based on their religious beliefs, and they would talk about the facts and the history of black people in the world and how we were kings and queens in Africa and we are there to take our rightful place and this, we are the children of Israel. And so a tribe, the 12 tribes of Israel, if anybody wants to look that up. What is that? Is that a dog?
a dog. Yeah,
What's his name?
it's Maxwell.
Or her name? Is it a boy or a girl?
It's a boy.
Oh, what's his name?
Maxwell.
Oh, hey Maxwell. Does he know his name?
Yeah,
Hey
he's 10.
Maxwell. All right. Well, I mean, he's trying to hang out with you. All right. Okay. So I am going to. I guess I can't talk too much about the Sound of Freedom. Only that it's
I
a movie
mean,
about.
not necessarily the movie in itself, right? Because we
Right.
haven't seen the movie yet, but the movie is
Mm-mm,
centered around child sex trafficking rings or a sex
mm-hmm,
trafficking ring, right?
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I don't want to like kind of get into again, like you said, a speculation of what the movie could be about or what it could
Mm-hmm,
be. But I started to watch that little clip that you sent me from YouTube with the guy who was on TBN, the police officer, and like all of what that's going on. But to have a conversation about sex trafficking in general, because of
yeah.
course we want to protect our children and the whole idea of the innocence and and whatnot. But there are people who are, literally being sex trafficked all over the place in America. You know
I
what I
believe
mean?
that.
Not just the children,
Mm-hmm,
not just, like little white kids. If you think of somebody going and breaking into their house and wanting to kidnap their kid, like these are literally young girls and sometimes young boys who are manipulated and
mm-hmm.
put in a position to where they're out there literally being trafficked
Oh
in their
yeah.
home state, in their home cities.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Agreed.
been a way of life. It's not anything new. It's probably something new that's starting to affect them, why it's starting
Mm-hmm.
to catch their eyes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But this whole idea of, and they call it sex trafficking, but all of our lives it's been pimping and prostituting.
Thank you. The whole point is that personally, I don't live far from people who are in the life. You know what I mean? They're in that life. They are literal prostitutes that get paid for sex. And it's something that they kind of, nobody likes it. You know, it's not the lifestyle that they choose, like, oh, this is great. And some of them feel trapped in it. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, when you are on the lower end of the spectrum with financially, like I said, these people aren't that far removed from you. I remember living next door to a little girl who was 14 who I don't know what happened, why she was in the position that she was in, but she literally did live with a pimp, and she didn't know he was a pimp because she just liked him. He was cute. He kind of embraced her. She came in, and then now he's making her prostitute, and she's lived
Because you
there.
like me, or if you love me, or if you want us
Yeah,
to be able to do this, you're gonna go out and you're gonna
right,
do that. And I'm not your
exactly,
pimp, I'm your boyfriend, and you just got to do this for the sake of us, and
right.
whatever, and how the situation
That's
goes.
usually,
But
yeah,
people watch them grow up.
yeah, yeah. And so it's
Yeah,
an unfortunate part of poverty is the best way to kind of explain that when people are in places where a lot of the guys, so this is kind of the dynamic that I've seen happen personally, is that a lot of the men have felonies, so they can't get jobs. So what they do is, if they're attractive, they try to lure women into their, into their atmosphere, and then before you know it, the women are in love, or the little girls are in love, and they're doing it
or they
because they
being
love this
drugged,
guy,
they
because he
being
don't have no
beat and
money, and it's the only way
abused.
they can make money because they can't go get jobs. So it's like it's another kind of after effect of keeping people in a certain lower classness of existing in the society, that people want to have lavish things and want to be able to do lavish things, but if you keep on throwing black men into jail and giving them felonies, they can't get jobs. And if young girls or young people can't get jobs, they're going to do these alternate kind of reality income sources, and that's kind of what
Right.
runs
And not
rampant.
even a matter of like I can't get a job, but where's my parent? You know what I mean? Like I'm at
Yeah,
home with multiple siblings and I got a mom and she's single and my dad's somewhere in jail.
yeah,
Sorry.
exactly.
That my dad has probably been in jail for the past 16 years for something that's legal now to this day. You know what I mean?
Isn't
Like
that
they out here
crazy?
selling weed on the streets
Right.
in the storefront, you know, America. While again, my dad has been in prison for the past 16 years.
Yeah, yeah. And that is
Not mine,
something that
not
I,
me.
right. But they should correct it. It's like if something is no longer illegal, and of course the argument is that, well, at the time that they did it, it was illegal.
But
But
it
now
was
that it's
illegal. It
not,
was stupid back then. You know what I
right,
mean?
it was
Like,
a
there's no
stupid
reason why it
illegality in the
should have
first
been
place. Right,
illegal back then if it's good enough
right,
to be legal now. So there's nothing they
right.
can do about that lost 16 years that you've taken from me and my family and the experience and
Hmm.
whatever was supposed to be had been instilled in me or however that would have went. But
Right.
what do they do? You know what I mean? Like, how do you make
Yeah.
reparation for something like that? But
Yeah.
here we are. But you know what I mean? Like this is just something that, and people hate it so bad. I was on Facebook the other day and I seen something about like horses being in the mines, and when the horses was out there, they was born in the darkness, they worked in the darkness, they was brought out, they had this big ass ceremony, and they did all of this like grandeur for the horses who no longer had to work underground and basically be slaves in the darkness because of
Hmm.
technology. And I was like, wow, like they celebrated the horses more than they did the black people. And then some,
Oh,
of
isn't that
course, white
true?
person. Listen. Some white person gonna come and
Hmm.
say, "Of course, you're gonna make this about race and something." So my response was, "Obviously, you racist." And he was like, "Oh, because you're small mind, you don't even know me. Go ahead and call me racist." Listen, I'm a black man in America. Everything that I do and everywhere that I go associates me as a black man. All I know and
Oh yeah.
experience in this country is race and racism. And it's something that you would
Yeah.
never be able to experience. So you don't have the right to come here and comment against whatever I'm telling you was my experience as a black man because you don't know that. You do nothing but sit in
Absolutely.
ignorance, which means that your comment was based off of ignorance, but you go ahead and you stay there
Yeah.
in that ignorance because I'm not going to argue with you. I'm a black man and you're not. We'll never have the same views.
Yeah. You'll never have the
So
same life experience.
when we
Yeah.
talk about sex trafficking and how that affects America, like when we having that conversation now, they more so focus about what it's doing to white America. They don't care about us because we would have been
True.
having this conversation
Right.
75. We would have been having this conversation when the white slave owners was out here pimping our black women, getting them pregnant, and selling them off to the next person to be able to build a bigger stable of slaves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's something that's
Yeah.
been normalized in our lives and our livelihood. So like when we get into having these conversations, it's always going to be kind of weird for me because, again, being a black man and knowing what I know and feeling how I feel about life in America,
Yeah.
like we're going to
Right.
always have to have that conversation because it's a very different experience for me and for
Oh
those
yeah.
who look like me, who have lived like me, and who experience life the same way that I have. You know what I mean? Like being young,
Exactly.
black, and urban,
Exactly.
it's not the same
Hmm.
conversation as having a conversation with this white woman in the suburbs whose daughter decided to go into a territory that she was never familiar with. You know what I mean? Like the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life is really something sick. It's really something
Hmm.
crazy. So you so attracted to
Hmm.
what you see out there, and now you caught up because you think you're in love with this little black boy, but he got you out here on a blade because the whole intent was to get a dollar out you. It was about a bag, never about love. Because
Oh yeah.
that's what the marginalized people do. We go out into the world and we figure out how we're going to be able to eat and feed our families because getting up and going to work ain't doing it for us.
Right. Right. Oh yeah. I even see a disparity in. I have a lot of skill sets. I've been 20 years doing what I do, and I haven't gotten any type of well, I've advanced myself. I don't stay at jobs very long. So I promote myself every time I go from one job to another job. I'm gonna get more money.
Every
Okay?
time.
Every single time because it's not happening. I know for a fact that I would not be able to advance. I remember one time when we were at RDI that I was noticing that they were not promoting people that look like me. They finally did at the last minute. I think one of the guys that I worked with got promoted, and he was a
And
black
then it was
guy.
a
But
man at that.
huh?
And then it was a man at that.
Right. And it's like as skilled as I was or that I saw other people like me were, they were not getting promoted. And all of the supervisors were not black or Hispanic. They were just
I didn't have a black supervisor. I didn't have
Anglo-Saxons.
a black
Right.
leadership, nothing at RDI.
Never. Right.
Right.
When you ask the question, which I've asked the question, how old were you when you got your first black teacher? And I had to think about it. I was in seventh grade. I was in the seventh grade when I got my first two black teachers. I believe they were well, I've had about four black teachers in my whole high school career, which was Mr. Benson, who taught Algebra 1 in junior high school, Miss Webb, who taught English. They were my only two black teachers. I think there were only two black teachers in my whole junior high school. And they must have been, there was we had a black vice principal that I really, really was close to. And then in high school, I had Mrs. Gibbs who taught Spanish. She was Belizean like me, but she spoke Spanish.
She
And
was Belizean, but she taught Spanish.
uh, she she was not nice actually. Mrs. Gibbs actually has this legacy in my memory of telling me that because my best friend looks the way she does, that she'll end up having a better life than me. I think she thought that she was being mindful of me and trying to say that I'm gonna have to work harder. But I'm like, that's one of the most effed up things one of my teachers ever said to me. Because
But it's
looking
not
back, it's
though.
like I know, but at the same time, it's like me and her have basically the same life. You know what I mean? I married a black man. She married a Mexican man who doesn't speak Spanish. But they're both construction workers. They both had the same income potential, and our lives are a little different. Mind you, he's still working and has worked consistently throughout all the times because he's an operating engineer. But he's worked consistently, whereas my husband has not, and that's the only difference that I can see when it comes to his race.
But see, that's the
They
only
they don't keep
difference
him
that you
working.
can.
Oh, what's that? You frozen? You frozen, Andre? OMG, that's your internet. Your internet stopped. Oh, there you are. See, I didn't even hear you. Your internet froze.
I was gonna say, I
So
imagine that maybe you was getting a phone call or something, but
no, I wasn't getting no phone call. But
Okay,
Um,
but we were saying like you and her
mhm.
having the same life, and when we talk about this best friend, this is the same Puerto Rican we were just talking about earlier.
Yeah, yeah. I only have
How the
one
fuck long
best
y'all been
friend.
friends?
Period. Nobody
I only got one
else.
best friend too. So,
It's like you're the next closest thing to like me having a
and
friend.
let the record be shown and known, I only have one best friend.
Mm-hmm. I only have one best friend.
I only have one best friend.
Who
Okay,
is your
but
best friend?
even yet and still, my best friend, her name is Javon.
Oh, nice.
Maiden
Okay.
name doesn't matter, but last name
Yeah.
Brooks. She she just got
Her
married
last
not too
name is
long
Brooks
ago.
too.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Isn't that
I didn't think about
ironic?
that.
Yeah. Crazy. Hmm. But you know, me and you've known each other for a long time. Anyway, make your point about the difference between my best friend and her life and then my life.
She'll pass her white sooner than you would. And even
Yeah.
if she made decisions that kept her in the same box or the same bracket as you, if she wanted to live a different life, she have a better opportunity at advancing than you do. Regardless of what she decided to take advantage of, if she wanted to live
Mhm.
in this circle, if she wanted to be in this space, that was the decision that she made, being a fair-skinned woman. You know what I mean? But you
Well,
being
she
a
does
black
have
woman,
kind of a better life. She owns a big house in LA. She's married now. They were together for about 10 years before they got married, but now they've been married about 11 years. He definitely stays working. So that's another thing that I noticed that within the construction industry, no matter what, he stays working. My husband cannot keep work. So it's like that's a little bit of a difference. And we know that that's a little bit of a race issue and a networking issue because my husband does not,
a lot of it, not just a little bit.
yeah,
So, like
yeah.
you said, we've known each other for a long time, and since I've known you,
Hmm.
you've been talking about how long you and your husband have been in construction work. You know what I mean? So it's not
Right.
a little bit of a race issue because it's not a fact of the matter that your husband can't keep construction work because he doesn't have the experience. You know what I mean? They
That's
have
true because he's very good at
primer
what he
picks
does.
above him
Yeah,
before they pick him, and that's the construction industry. You know what I mean?
that
Like
is
when you
very
go out,
true. Yeah.
primarily when you see people working and doing construction, first they Hispanic,
Oh
and
yeah,
then they
the
white,
Hispanics always get work above us, so it's like
and
that's
then
even
they're white.
ironic that you're mentioning that because it's so true that we know people in the industry that aren't as good workers. Some of them are really great, but not all of them are. But they can keep work, and it's like we don't know what that is exactly. I don't know. It's just favoritism or whatever, but
It ain't
that's
even
why
got to
he's
be
doing the kind of work
favoritism.
he's
It's just
doing
the
now.
fact of the matter of like one and why are we having this conversation about race? We supposed to be talking about sex trafficking.
I think because it
Jim
just
Crow is
let it.
real.
You know how I always tell you, let it be what it is.
It is,
Let it
and
be what it
it
is.
is what it is because even in the basis of
Right.
sex trafficking, pimping, and prostituting, pandering, however you want to play it, it boils down to race. Because, like I said
It does.
before, like
Mhm.
the dawn of time, the sun was rising, pussy was on sale. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it wasn't
Yeah.
always willingly. Like they were
Yeah.
literally enslaved and had to do whatever the hell they was told to do. And people can be
Yeah.
mad about us having to talk about race, but it's real life, and it's an act after effect that still affects our lives on a daily freaking basis.
Basis.
You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Like,
Oh
and
yeah.
anybody who stands in opposition to the understanding of that is an enemy of mine, and you might as well be
Right.
in a white hood. You know what I mean? You might as well be
Yeah.
tying the noose. You might as
Yeah.
well be the it,
Yeah.
because you
Right.
can't you can't be in opposition of how I feel when you don't stand in the same sand, and this is
Yeah.
quicksand over here.
Yeah. And I have to admit that that is so so true. And it's kind of sad that people who don't have this experience don't try to just empathize because unfortunately it's positioned as almost like we're obsessed with the idea of it, and it's like we're not obsessed with the idea but you guys are, and the irony is we are the victims of that those thought processes that feel like, oh, this extreme kind of, oh, they're just like we're the others. And I hate to otherize people, but Black people have always been the OG others. And even I was listening to, so this is another thing. I didn't realize Hispanics went through this too, but I was listening to the book by the guy who did the Hot Cheetos. They just did a movie about
A
him.
movie on Netflix. Yeah. Oh no, it's a show. It got a
It's a
series or
movie.
something
Okay,
like
so
that.
it's a movie. Let me go look at my Audible because I was listening to
Is
it
it a
last
movie?
night.
Because I thought I was watching it, and him and his wife, and how his dad used to be abusive and beat him, and his mama, and I don't know. I didn't get too far into it, but
Yeah, it was called what is this thing called? Um, in progress. Where is it? It's weird how I can't find this. The Hot Cheeto guy book. Like, did I finish it? I didn't finish it. Oh, my OJ book. I got to talk about OJ one day. Now, there's this guy who believes that OJ is innocent because he did all the He did 10 years of investigating and found out that. Well, I'll tell you guys another time. What is the name of that book? Hot Cheetos. I have to Google it. Hot Cheetos book. Ugh, give me a thing. Okay, Hot Cheetos, Hot Cheetos.
it's okay. We got plenty of time.
Exactly, creator. Oh, there, Richard Montanez. Richard Montanez,
What's the Netflix movie
creator.
called?
Um, Flamin' Hot. It's called Flamin' Hot. So I watched that movie. Very inspiring, actually, because he was a janitor and he had dropped out of school. Um, but then he got hired at Frito Lay at the warehouse and was about to get fired 2 weeks in because his boss told him he didn't show any initiative, and that kind of started the whole um trajectory of him doing what he's doing because he started learning everything, and he had to go to the library to go to a dictionary to figure out what initiative even meant, him and his wife. And so forever then on, he was trying to show initiative. He learned about all the machines and how the production happened, and he kind of learned from the bottom up. And he was like the first like Hispanic executive at Frito Lay. So that was an inspiring story of somebody coming from the bottom, moving their way up. But I think everybody thinks that every Black person has that opportunity, and that's absolutely not true because the
Every
atmosphere
Hispanic
with
person doesn't have that opportunity. How many
exactly in every
Hispanics passed through that factory before he came in, and
very true, very true. And it's almost like there's a well, back in the day, it used to be very prevalent that there was a limited selection. Like we even got told, I won't say who said this to us, me and my husband, that we already have our own, our token Black guy. And
affirmative
so it's a
action
very
for real.
conscious thing that happens when it comes to how many Black people will work in a specific space.
Affirmative action
And
for real.
I used to experience that here in Las Vegas. That I was one of the only Black people that would work at a place. I'd be the one, two Black people in a sea of white people, or white people and Hispanics. Even me and you were that. We were that at RDI because in each department, I think there was like three of
It
us,
was a handful of
or
us all together
just a
anyway.
handful, right? Just no more than what you could put on one hand, just to be specific. Like there was never more than five Black people in any one department ever. And so it's kind of like a ratio of whites to Blacks coming up in Las Vegas that, I'm always in that space. But I remember one bad experience I did have. I used to work at PSI, which is the state licensing examination place where if you're supposed to get a real estate license, you had to go take a test. Um, and it was all Black people. I had so many bad experience. I remember one time talking in a meeting, I had some girl tell me to basically shut up, don't interrupt her, and I'm like, what? Like, I have a what's your problem? I was like, oh, me, I get real what you call it, PC. I get very politically correct in an office setting, right? But I want
Yeah.
to curse her the fuck out. I was like,
And I would have,
bitch,
but not
right?
to say that I
I'm like,
would have,
bitch,
but
I can't go snatch you
um
right now. Oh my god.
yeah, I feel
Whew.
like, a very, very professionally and, respect disrespectful to the corporate setting, I put that
Yes.
hoe in her place. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
at the same time, I feel like a lot of times in a lot of spaces when you know like you're saying something, people don't give you the respect of being able to complete your thought before they want to
Yes.
interject either a question or trying to clarify or understand something. When if you would just give me the respect enough to complete my thought, I might answer your question. And I wasn't there, so I
Yeah.
don't know if you had indeed cut her off or if she was just being rude.
Um,
Like
no, she was being rude. She was definitely being rude.
I mean, from a
And I
victim,
think,
I can understand you saying that, but again, I wasn't there, so I don't
but
know.
I do have a bad habit of okay, so unfortunately I talk to my best friend the most, and I can do that within the conversation because she doesn't lose her train of thought. I always think to
Uh-huh.
myself, and I want to be condescending constantly when I think of people like this, but I will not be because I know you might be this person. But there are people who cannot keep their train of thought if you speak about something they just mentioned. But when I talk to my best friend, I can talk about something she just mentioned. We can stop, take a moment, talk about that, and then she does not lose her train of
Run it
thought. And
right
that's
back. I be in five different conversations at one time too. I get
right,
that, right? But that's you having a conversation with your best friend. You know what I mean?
right,
Like perception and intent like they kind of level out. But when you're
true,
in a room with people who don't really know you, like they don't really
right.
understand what your intent is. So their perception of you could be very different, especially if y'all haven't really been
I
able to
noticed that.
fellowship for real. You know what I mean? So
Right.
they put their experiences with other people in it, just
True.
generalize it. So she
Facts.
could be in a situation to where she could be at home and she could be trying to have a conversation with her spouse, and when he don't agree with something that she's saying, he immediately cut her off and not
Mm,
only want to change how she
triggered.
feel about what she's saying, but what she's saying altogether. Yeah. So now
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
having this conversation, or y'all having this conversation, and you immediately like, well, let's touch on what you're talking about now before you get too deep into something else. And she's like, oh, bitch, you got me fucked up. Shut up. Let me finish my conversation. You know what I
She
mean?
sure
Like,
was. I'm like, Heifer, calm it
right. A lot of
down. It's
people don't
like
know
slow
how
your
to,
roll. It's like,
compartmentalize certain shit,
mm-mm.
So like you have to
Yeah,
deal with what they deal with at home and being here too. And what shows your level of maturity is how you respond to that and being able to, like comprehend the fact that okay, this bitch tripping because that's not even what I meant.
she
And
was
if you
tripping
ain't
for
even
real.
giving me the space or the opportunity to say, hey, like, you misunderstanding something. I don't know where the disconnect was, but that wasn't where we are. So let's get back on track and let me mention this
Yeah,
because this is what I'm talking about. Before I even get offended. And then if you want to carry on, you know what, bitch, we get off work at the same time. So
right. But you're right because it's like it did happen to me again at a different job where another black lady was like, I was in Pasadena at this time and I was working for Sparkless Water at the call center, and one lady just stopped me, like she was so abrupt and abrasive. She's like, "Do not interrupt me." And I'm like, bitch, okay.
wait, so
Oh,
was this somebody you was on the phone with, like a
we
consumer,
were in a
or you talking
meeting.
about a
Actually,
coworker? Oh,
this happened in a
mm.
meeting setting, but we were outside in the parking lot. I forgot why we were outside in the parking lot.
Oh, we already outside.
Right, we already outside, but I'm like, oh god. But we're still with workers. We're still with our boss and our team. I don't know why we had to go outside, but oh, I hated that girl, and she smelled horrible, but hated her,
Smell
hated
horrible,
her.
like a box of cigarettes, an ashtray,
Like yeah,
ass.
like she smoked, and she sometimes, some women have feminine odor, so I'm like, gross.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Yes. That was my biggest nightmare when I used to go to a brick and mortar uh office, is that the ladies' bathroom smells just like I went to men's bathroom. Men's bathroom smells like, you know,
piss on the
nice
floor.
compared to all the smells. Like I used to want to bring
Oh,
Febreze.
like the tampons that they put in the trash can.
Oh, that's why I
Uh,
can't. I can't.
y'all
And
fucking
my
disgusting.
job when I worked at AT&T, that was Sutherland over there off of you know, near Summerlin.
By the
That bathroom
it
was the
wasn't Town
worst.
Square. It was before they moved to Town Square.
Sutherland,
Yeah,
um, it was I think it's Durango and
oh,
Sahara.
maybe that's not
It was a
them in Town
huge
Square that I'm thinking of.
building.
Then
Yeah, that was ATT Direct
I
TV.
thought they did the solar panels or something. I don't know.
They have okay, so that building, Sutherland actually had Airbnb, Nickelodeon,
They were
DirecTV, and
like
AT&T.
Telus and like C3 and shit like that.
Yes, yes, they have
Oh,
multiple
campaigns.
call centers basically that operated
Mm,
out of that building. So Sutherland
I don't like that.
housed, mind you, we had the whole second floor of one building. It was almost 800 people in that building. That was just ATT DirecTV. We were escalations for AT&T. So um once you went through all the regular agents who weren't trained like we were, because we worked off 11 different systems, because ATT is antiquated and they keep on acquiring other companies. Like we were Pac Bell, we were ATT, we were DirecTV, we were internet service. And every time they opened up like the retail, when they opened up retail AT&T cellular stores, each one of them have their own computer system that they work off of. So we were trained to work on all of the computer systems, even their original computer system, which was a DOS system. And that's for Pac Bell. So if we had phone
Pac
service,
Bell.
mm-hmm, it was Pacific Bell before it was AT&T. This is a
I
100-year-old
know, but
company.
that I was gonna say that was like 40 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So they had their system was a DOS system, and the retail store had a different system, and DirecTV had its own system because that was a totally different company. And we had internet service, which also had a different system. So I was trained on all the systems. So when people would come and call me, I'd have to go from system to system because people have like ATT, DirecTV, and the internet all with the
And I
same
bet you
bundle
whatever the
service.
wage they was paying you, I'd have never accepted it for what they wanted me to do.
They had good pay, but they okay, so that was one of the jobs that was like $12 an hour, but you could make at least $2,000 a month in bonuses, which was driving me nuts. I know, right? I
No,
know, right? Yeah. So it's like I think I made
no,
19. My biggest bonus was like 1,900. Um,
no.
exactly. I stopped doing bonuses because it was not worth it. Because if I didn't make that bonus, then now I'm at the worst pay,
I would have
around.
stopped
So
going to work because it's not worth it.
I stopped going to work. Oh, I stopped going to work. Okay. So I worked at
Oh wait,
ATT
before we
for
get too deep into this, hold on. So
okay.
does your screen tell you that your recording fucked up?
No. It's still counting down. It's 41:54 and I still have the option to end. Why? What is yours saying?
Recording error. Open the recording tab to learn more.
Please ask guests to stay in the studio until their recordings are done uploading. Out of date and your recording may be affected. Please update your
Maybe it's
browser.
just me. Fuck it.
Well, it's still recording. We may have to update my browser, is what they're telling me.
Uh,
And it's still uploading, so you're fine.
so wait, before we get too deep into something else, did we
Mhm.
ever cover the topics that you wanted to cover? Did we?
Yeah, there's only so much we can actually talk about when it comes to the Sound of Freedom. So,
So next week
because we don't want to
we'll be able to
speculate,
review the movie.
yeah. So this is our pre-review of the movie because we're gonna go see it, and then our next podcast is gonna be about it and what we thought
Okay,
about the
because
movie.
I want to be able to see like how that applies to like we were having a conversation before we started recording about being normal, and I told you, like I asked what is normal because for me
Oh, what
normal
is
is black and
normal?
urban.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I want to see how that associates with normal life for me, because the sound of
True.
freedom, if it's a main focal point of rescuing some little white girl or the senator's daughter or some shit like that, you know what I mean?
Well, it was
Like,
Spanish kids. From what I understand, it was two little Spanish kids. Like I think a brother and sister. I've done a little bit of a pre-review about what the movie is about.
ooh, and it's so crazy, and that like that's really where it hit heavy at. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
having people
Yeah.
trying to get into America and being in such a desperate situation, and like that shit. That shit is
Yeah.
crazy. That shit is
Yeah.
crazy.
Which I'm sure I'm gonna enjoy the movie. And
I
my
don't know
best
if I'm
friend
gonna
keeps on
enjoy it. I feel like
emphasizing.
I might find it intriguing.
I think you'll enjoy it. You want? I don't know if we'll see it together. I don't know if our schedule will ever combine well enough for us to see it together. But
schedule a sleep pattern because you get off work at 9 o'clock. You talking about you want to go to the movies at 10, and I'm usually waking up at 2 in the morning.
right,
So
exactly. So I'm up like I'll stay up like last night. I got up and made dinner at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's because
nah.
I slept all day, and so and I'll take a sleeping pill. So when I take a sleeping pill, it's like I can't wake up. So that's the real problem. But there's times when I can't sleep. So I got to take the pill to actually get some rest. That's what I was up against yesterday. So it's like,
Ambien.
I take the Equate Sleep Aid from Walmart.
Oh, girl, not
Very
over the counter. If you're talking about a sleeping pill, that ain't real.
barely. It's 25 milligrams.
That's some
It's like,
motherfucking melatonin
I'll take some melatonin too, but
and chamomile. That shit ain't real. You need some dope from the doctor.
I've always had sleeping problems. Because if I have anxiety about asthma, I can't sleep.
You need
That's why
that
I
shit that's
listen
gonna
to
have you sleepwalking.
audiobooks. My daughter used to sleepwalk. She was 2 one time. She got up and I was like, she's sleeping. I'm
Two.
surprised. She was 2 when we discovered she sleptwalk. She
Ooh.
sleepwalks, but that's because we were co-sleeping in the living room. We had just moved to Las Vegas. We had not yet bought our mattress. We were co-sleeping in the living room on the floor, and my daughter got up, and I was like so thankful that we weren't in a bed somewhere where she could fall. But she got up. We turned on the lights. We were like wondering what is she doing? She's just walking around in the dark, and she's kind of or whatever. And we realized that she's sleeping. Like she is sleeping and walking around, and we were spooked the hell out. But our baby, when it's your baby, it's like we thought it was kind of adorable. Like, damn, she sleepwalks. My baby, that's my baby. She's still my baby. Um, she's the one I could wake up. I could
So
say, what? Oh, there goes your thing again.
somebody was calling my phone.
Oh, that's what happens. Isn't it crazy?
Mm.
Nobody on my phone. That's why I have my other phone right here.
Ain't nobody called that motherfucker either.
I know I don't get no calls. Nobody's calling me. They might be talking to me on Facebook, but that's the only way I communicate.
But what I was gonna say was because you had mentioned how y'all were co-sleeping in the living room. I was gonna say that
We were
co-sleeping, like that's some crazy shit.
that she was sleepwalking,
No, co-sleeping.
co-sleeping, sleeping with your baby.
Yes.
We had to. Her crib wasn't here yet.
I mean,
Don't
no, that
worry.
I understand, but what I'm saying
Hmm.
is that co-sleeping is some crazy shit. I used to work in organ procurement, so when
Oh, okay.
people would die, they would call, into the
Oh
OPO, and I was
yeah.
responsible for having to answer the phone. They would have to give me circumstances and, information and a whole rundown of how whoever died and whatever the situation was. And
Right, right, right.
there were so many situations where people were calling in regards to a baby dying from co-sleeping. Like I never
Yeah.
forget I never forget how there was a case where a baby died from co-sleeping.
Hmm.
The mom dropped the baby off at the neighbor house to babysit while she went to work or wherever she was going, whatever she was doing. And the
Mm.
neighbor was co-sleeping with the baby.
Oh no.
Rolled over the baby, smothered
Oh
her.
no.
The baby died,
Oh.
right? Situations where,
Yeah.
mom, dad, baby all in the bed together, they wake up, baby dead.
Yeah. I know that's so hard to. That's so hard to
One day we're
fathom
gonna have to
because
talk about like all of the crazy shit that
that
I've
you.
experienced working for an organ procurement organization because you would really be surprised at how
I
people be
want to
out
hear
here in
about
these
it.
streets dying.
No, I want to hear about it. I was
Like it's
fascinated when you
crazy.
you were telling me that you were getting that job because it paid real well. And I'm like, oh, go for it. And then
Yeah.
I never got to talk to you after you left the job.
I was busy as fuck. Like it was certain
Were
times where I was
you?
working 50 hours a week, 55 hours a week. Now keep in mind I was supposed to work 312. So my schedule was supposed to be
Oh,
36 hours a week. And it was weeks where I was working 50 hours,
oh
55 hours.
wow, that money was good, good,
Never
good.
since it was real good, like real good. Real
Yeah.
good. Like I would have to miss work to get a $1,600 check.
Damn, I might go into that. No, I like my job right now.
I would have to
UPS is
miss
a great
work.
employer. I always have to give them kudos because when I was a contract worker was when I realized that UPS was my employer because um they're not too hung up on absences. They don't really make you feel like a lot of jobs because of my illness and I'm sick. Even when I have FMLA, I have to get a lot of grief behind me missing days as if somehow their business can't function without, like manage that shit. Your whole business.
Right.
Manage your employees and anticipate that they might not come in all the damn time. And then fine. Stop giving me a hard time because there's nothing I can do. Um, and so, and that would be my point of contention. Like, I'd be done. I'd be so done before I'm actually done with the job that by the time I get fired or terminated or whatever for all the absences, I'm like, go F yourself. Because you guys are whack as you know what. But anyway, we're actually moving toward the end. So we're at the time frame where now we get to play the
I'm still here.
game. Yeah. So what's our game, Andre?
Um, this or that.
All right, give it to me.
Sorry, one second.
No, you get ready. I kind of flipped the script on you real quick.
You did.
But if you got to stay ready. You don't have to get ready. Nah, but I feel you.
Sorry. Oh, I've
I like
been,
our conversations so far. They've been pretty fun. I like going the gamut. Like I don't have to stay on a topic to feel like I've had a thorough conversation. I like to kind of bounce around. It's more natural. That's how real
yeah,
conversations go.
yeah,
Like nobody stays on one topic all the time. Talk about a
right.
bunch of stuff.
I mean, it is definitely a real conversation because you know some
That's
shit you
all we
be
do.
saying, I'd be like, eh, like
But I'm just
that
gonna
may be more
talk.
so a personal thing. You know what I mean? Like that.
Right. No, no,
That's
no.
not normal. Like
I'm
that's
very
not
aware.
across the board for everybody.
Right. So it's like I have to be authentic. So it's like that's just me. I'm always gonna be that way. I've always kind of blurred the line of professional and personal. And so I feel like
Oh, I
because I live
straddle
in a
that
personal
motherfucker so
space,
hard.
I'm not in public spaces a lot. You know what I mean? I'm not around people a lot. So I'm in a zone of personal most of the time, my whole life. So I don't really have a different mode. And that's
Really?
why people like they might think I'm unprofessional. It's like, no, I just kind of live in a
In your own
reality
world,
where
it's yours.
everything is kind of in my personal space anyway.
It's yours. Your own reality.
It's my
And
own
when you go
reality.
out to
Yeah.
the real world, you expect the rest of us to fit into what you're accustomed to.
Well, I don't know anything else.
That's
So I'm
why I
like, I
said
try
that
my best to be.
you would be so far right.
I would?
Yeah,
What you mean?
you know what I
What you
mean.
mean far right?
But you've always been like, and I feel like that's why we click so well because, not to say that we argue, but we can have a conversation and I'm not like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Or you like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And I'm like,
Hmm.
well, and
Hmm.
me, and you're like, oh well, and I'm like me, and I'm like, girl, you motherfucking crazy because it ain't no way. It
Yeah,
ain't no
well,
way.
I don't
It's
know
not gonna
where I
happen.
fall. Like, I'm not around enough people to gauge it. You know what I mean? I don't.
I'm
My
around enough
whole
people to gauge it for you.
exactly.
And in case y'all can't tell, that's the right side.
Well, you're on my right. Like, you the right side for
Okay.
me. You over there. But when I put my thumb, it's not pointing at you, but you're over. Anyway,
Right. Yeah.
so this is the thumb that
But we
points to you
know,
on the screen.
yeah, but I'm on the left.
Yeah. I feel like I fall in the middle. I'm like a you said what you call it, libertarian.
A
I don't know what
libertarian.
that is. But I feel
Like you're
like
a liberal.
I'm a conservative Democrat, if that makes sense.
It don't.
It don't?
But it's okay though, because I feel like I'm a conservative Democrat until I get around people like you. And then I'd be like, but at the same time, like I have to realize, like me personally, I feel like I've been thugging since the womb, Me and my sister.
Mhm.
It's okay. Do your thing.
Who me?
Yeah, you.
I'm not doing nothing. He
Oh,
walked
I thought I
by.
heard him
Like
say something, and then you look
he
this way, and I'm like, if he needs your
he
attention,
walked by and said something. I couldn't understand what he said. He don't realize I have something in my ear. I
he
think he
think you just
knows,
sitting there
but
having
he
a
just
conversation
always
with
likes
yourself.
to be. My husband has to be the center of attention. It's like I don't. He don't
I
like
mean,
dividing his.
well,
He don't like
what's
me
his sign?
dividing my attention.
What's his
He does it to
sign?
me when I'm on the phone. All of a sudden, he want to be all up in my in my M's
Girl,
from
what's his
him.
sign?
We're both Aries.
Oh,
What's your sign?
okay. I'm a Capricorn.
Are you? Oh, that's weird
Yeah.
that me and you get along. Aries is a
First
little
off, I get
extra.
along with everybody,
You do. You're such a
right? Because
sweetheart.
I'm cool as fuck. You know what I mean?
You
Like,
are cool as
I'm cool
fuck.
as fuck. I try my best
You
to be
are.
understanding. I try to be inclusive. I believe in equity. I believe in inclusion. I believe in diversity. You know what I mean? Like the whole nine, because I'd be damned if a bitch gonna tell me that I can't and I won't and I'm not because of whatever. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
said, like I was saying, I've been thugging since the womb my whole life, but at the same time, I be knocking on corporate America's door like, hey, I know
Yeah.
y'all need somebody, but my time started 70K a year. Like we can
Yes.
make this shit work. Like however
Yeah.
you need to, and I guarantee you, I'm gonna be what you need. But like again, I just try my best. Like I feel like everybody deserves one, the benefit of doubt, and two, the
Yes.
opportunity. So
Absolutely. I'm
I
wholeheartedly
get
with
along with
you.
everybody, but y'all know once you take my kindness or weakness, because I believe like we talk about the law of reciprocity and we talk about
Hmm.
karma and all of that is a
Hmm.
return on what you give. So I do my best to go into every space and in every situation with an extension of what I expect to return to me, whether it's from
Hmm.
you or it's from the universe. You know what I mean? I'm doing my best to ensure that I'm giving you respect, understanding, love, like the whole nine. And then once that's taken for granted, that's not working between us. Either you're gonna hate me or you'll never see me again. Because if we have to
Yeah.
deal with each other, you're not gonna get no respect from me. And getting no respect from me,
Oh, I know that. I've seen you in action. I'm always glad that I've
right?
always been in your good graces. You've always been in mine. And I remember when you used to drive me home, I used to be one thing at work and I used to be this totally other thing in the car. But I'm like, because I don't think people would understand me if I was my whole self up in the building because they don't get
And
it.
meanwhile, I'm my whole self the whole time. That's probably why I got fired before you did.
Right.
Because listen, y'all gonna
Yeah.
have to understand. Like I speak very well. I can articulate my thoughts like a motherfucker. Like that's no problem. But like I said, I've been thugging my whole life. Like me and my sister are 10 months apart. By the time I came into the womb, the placenta, the afterbirth, all that shit was still there. Like I've never been in a space on my own or nothing. Like I've always had to share something with somebody, and I grew up in a peculiar place at a peculiar time.
Yeah,
It was
that's a good
crazy.
reason.
But when I moved to Las Vegas, it was a whole different experience. It was a whole nother life. I got to know a whole different group of people, a whole new way
Yeah.
of living. My perception changed. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I still know that the world that I came from exists. So I know that there's
Yeah.
people like that. But I know that there's life outside of that. So I try to make myself fit. Like, I don't know, you read the Bible and Paul said, I became all things to all people so that I might save some. Like that's the exact position that I be in all the time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
not that I'm going to neglect my faith or my relationship, but I understand why you would be in a situation to where you don't believe, especially if it
Yeah.
has something to do with somebody with a relationship with somebody that was in relationship that was supposed to be a representative and they misrepresented, and now like you're at odds with whatever the situation may be, or if the shit just don't make sense to you, you don't believe, like that's cool. I'm not here to change your
Mhm.
mind. I'm here to accept you and show you the same type of love that I get. And I'll never not say that, like,
Yeah.
cool.
You do give a
Like
lot
for
of love.
the past 5 years, for some reason, God has been putting like atheist after non-believer
What the
after
hell?
disassociated person in my presence for some crazy reason. And I eat that shit up like it's
Really?
nothing. Eat that shit up like
Yeah.
it's nothing, because I'm not here to force nothing on you. You're not gonna change my mind about
That's
nothing. I'm
true.
not here to change your mind.
Right.
But
Right.
you're gonna be wondering why, like, why are you so different than any other motherfucker that I've ever, encountered, especially the type of people that be on the type of shit that you own, because my relationship is authentic. I was adopted into sonship. Like, I am, how they say, an uncircumcised Philistine. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a Gentile. Like I
Hmm.
wasn't raised in the church. I didn't go like none of that shit. So my life
You
was
weren't
in the
raised in the
streets.
church?
No,
Mm.
you met my sister, haven't you?
No, I haven't met your sister.
Oh, y'all work together, but y'all never like.
Who is your sister?
My sister used to work at RDI. Like my first day was her last day. She used to hang with Rochelle and some white girl. I don't know. Her and the white girl got into it, and my sister, being herself,
Oh.
she told that girl, "When I see you, girl, I'm gonna
What's your
beat
sister's
the
name?
drawers from her name." I can't say her name after I said that.
Well, the text her, text her name to me, because then I'm
I have
like,
to send you a picture or whatever and whatnot. But I think the white
right,
girl
send me a
name is
picture because
Danielle or something.
I may
So do
know
you
her because I was there
remember?
before you.
You remember Monica?
Monica Trim. Yeah, I know.
Yes. So they used to hang together
Okay,
all the
I'm
time.
still friends with her on Facebook and stuff. So
Yeah, me too.
we probably crossed paths, or I've seen her. I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you definitely have. When I tell you, you're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, okay, now I remember your sister." But they had got into it. But when I tell you, like it's one thing for a person to like grow up in the ghetto or be around like hood shit, but it's a whole nother thing when that's the entirety of life. Like my whole family was the streets, and like
Yeah.
that's just what they do. That's who they
Which
are. So
we are from the streets in LA, but we were the ministry. You know what I mean? We were the people who were trying to help alleviate that kind of circumstance. So
and we
we
were the
were in a
people y'all were trying to alleviate.
we mind you, we were homeowners. So this is something that wasn't very common. Like we were the homeowners, we had a huge backyard. We used to offer karate and tutoring and stuff. Our home was like a business. Our home was like a ministry. And so I lived in the place where people came to get refuge, basically, is the only way to describe our home. And our parents were just very giving and had a lot of unconditional love for everybody around them and made a lot of strides in our neighborhood, actually. Whereas there was a lot of gang violence and graffiti when we were younger, and the community kind of just improved because we were right down the hill from First Amy Church, and that neighborhood was one thing up until the riots, and then it became better. It did become better after the riots because we just
Completely
had to
different life, completely
fix
different
things. Yeah, we just
experience,
had to fix things.
completely
Um,
different. My brothers was in and out of prison my whole life. My sister was
yeah,
prostituting at 14 years old. You know what I mean? Like my dad been a
yeah,
part of my life my whole life. You know what I mean? Like he was.
yeah,
My mom and dad weren't in a relationship, so it wasn't like I had a two-parent household. My mom did what she could for the best she could for her and her six kids. We've never been homeless. We ain't never been without lights. We ain't never not had food.
yeah.
The system ain't never been in
That's
our business. We
interesting.
ain't
That's
never been taken
good
out of the home. You
because
know what
even
I
we've been
mean?
without
But
lights.
we ain't never had. Well, there was a
Yeah,
blackout, and then there was one time where we lived in in a community, like an apartment complex,
yeah.
and when I was a kid, like this is the type of life that I lived. The apartment complex that I lived in, first off, was called John F. Kennedy Manor, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the acronym for that was JFK. Okay,
Right.
and the people in the neighborhood where I lived took JFK and turned it to from John F. Kennedy Manor to a jungle full of killers.
Oh wow.
This is the type of
Oh
neighborhood that I
wow.
grew up in.
Where
This
did
is
you
the
grow up in?
era
Were
of
you in Las
crime.
Vegas or LA?
I'm from Richmond, California, from the Bay Area, like Oakland,
You're from
Richmond,
the
San
Bay. Oh,
Francisco,
okay.
Vallejo. Yeah, like
Okay, got it.
where LA wish, where y'all, the thugging really came from, where it migrated down. Like
Like, the funny thing is, we had a lot of crime happening. Like, we had the drug house that was two doors to my left in my neighborhood, but we knew the family, and it just so happened that the older son had to take care of his family, so he became the neighborhood drug dealer. He was the big drug dealer, and he would sell to little drug dealers. And he was really kind hearted. I remember he was put in prison for murder in 20 years. When I moved back home, he was back out. So 20 years had passed. Everybody that got 20 to life was out of jail after about 20 years. And because they spent most of their time, they didn't get no free time off or no early outs. They
right,
spent that 20 years. And he came back and he was helping my neighbor before she died because she was real heavy. He was real tall and kind of bulky. He would help her get off the floor if she fell out of her wheelchair. And his name was Jasper. I'm sure he's not involved in
He
drug
did his
dealing
time,
anymore.
paid his debt to society.
Right. He's not involved in drug dealing anymore, but he still had ties and stuff like that. I talked to him for a little bit. And
Yeah.
his sister was actually became a crackhead, and they were the kids who were kind of dealing, and then
I
somebody got
know a
caught
couple
up.
of crackheads too.
Yeah, she got caught up. She's one of the most prettiest girls. They're like light skinned redheaded type black people,
Drugs
and
ain't what they used to be because the crackheads I know fat.
really, I know it must not be as strong. I don't know, but
They ain't out there pushing and moving and grooving like they used to. They fat and lazy.
right, right. It's funny.
They don't clean your
Um,
house no more. They don't clean your yard no more. They don't fix your
they don't do
car
all the
no
good hard
more.
work
They
for their
sleeping in your
money.
yard. They
Right.
squatting in your house. Nigga, they stealing
That's
your
so funny.
car. Okay?
That's
Yeah,
so
nah, it
funny.
ain't what it used to be. I'm still here.
I know, I know. That's kind of funny. Cause yeah, crackheads used to be so super skinny and look like they were sweating all day. And I haven't seen one in such a long time. I mean, not the typical on the streets type,
Yeah, but I
person.
mean, so a lot of people don't get me wrong, crack is still a real thing. People still doing crack, but a lot of people are like meth heads. There's a lot of people who do heroin now because
Hmm.
the opioid epidemic, which I feel
Yeah,
like is a whole nother race conversation because they treat that completely different than they treated the crack epidemic,
that's
and
true.
the
We
crack
have a lot of them
predominantly
around my
affected
house.
very much
They come dig in the trash. My husband has to run them off property, and then he
the
just
meth
like,
heads,
yeah, they're meth heads. They're the ones taking all the wires out the light poles.
the
They
copper,
busybodies. They must
stealing the
busybodies.
catalytic converters, yeah. I
Those
mean,
are
but
them. Yeah,
back in the
those are
day, the
them.
crackheads was wild too. Like it used to be wild. Like it used to be wild, which is why I said moving to Las Vegas was like paradise for me when I was 14, 15
Really?
years
Yeah.
old. Like when
Yeah.
I was a kid, motherfuckers making it to 21, like that was a milestone
That
in
was the
your life.
thing.
And
Yeah.
then
A lot of my
to be 30
friends.
years old was OG status. You know what I mean? Which is why when
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, like I'm almost 40 years old. I'm 33. I'm almost 40 years old. Like because all of my life, like growing up, it wasn't like you had a dream and I'm gonna be a firefighter when I grow up. I'm gonna be a lawyer. I'm gonna be a doctor, a police officer. Not in the space that I was in. Not to say that it wasn't happening for people in that area in that
Hmm.
era because those type of people like some of those people still became lawyers and doctors and firefighters and police officers and shit like
Yeah.
that, but in the space that I was in and the opportunity that I was given, like that's not something that was projected in your view, you know what I mean? Like we
Right.
wasn't
It
thinking
wasn't
about
part
shit
of
like
our
that. Like
trajectory.
we were
Yeah.
worried about who was getting put on the t-shirt next and why I'm in the eighth grade
Yeah.
and my friend just got killed and we ain't even made it to high school
Yeah.
yet,
We had
you
my
know what I
friend got
mean?
just got killed scenarios. Like I was talking to my best friend the other day, or I was talking to E the best other day, and there was a kid named Sean who was shot on accident because they were playing Russian roulette at a ditch party, and he was such a cool
Sorry, but you
kid.
don't get shot on accident playing Russian roulette because the basis of the game is to not get shot. But we know it's a bullet in the gun. Now, if you was holding
Yeah.
a gun and you dropped it and the gun went off and you got shot on accident, that's one thing. But to be playing Russian roulette, make better fucking decisions. Not that it's any different that he got shot and that's really sad, but make
Right.
better fucking decisions. And I
Make
don't
better
care who
decisions.
parent or
Right.
whose child get offended by hearing this statement. Make better fucking decisions because
Decisions.
you didn't
Agreed.
accidentally get shot playing Russian roulette. Put the fucking gun down. It's not
Gun
a
down.
toy.
Put the gun down. Yeah. We had another
Sorry, but
friend
that
that
wasn't an accidental shooting.
he had gotten into a fight the first day of like our senior year. One of our friends had fought another friend. The friend that got beat up was Little Ollie Bob. Little Ollie Bob is still in prison, I believe, for having
Alibaba,
shot
Baba,
Ollie Bob. Ollie Bob. No, it's Ollie Bob. B-O-B.
Baba,
There's Big Ollie Bob and Little Ollie Bob from the neighborhood.
Alibaba.
Whatever.
They were Middle
They're
Eastern.
real thugs, real gangsters.
Were they Middle
Both of
Eastern?
them have murders under their belt because each one had prison sentences.
Were they Middle Eastern?
No,
Okay,
they
it might not
black,
have been Alibaba then.
black.
It might have been
They
Ali
black.
Bob.
It's Ali Bob, yo. And so he shot our friend Lewis, who
Ooh,
he shot him in the head in front of his mom's
ooh,
house because he was
ooh.
mad
On
because he got
purpose?
beat up.
Oh, that's wild. Not you got your ass whooped. Okay, so since we on this topic, I was living in the South. We were just having a conversation about me being in Atlanta. I was in
Mhm.
Atlanta for a few months. I was working a job. I hated it. I left Atlanta. I went to Alabama.
Mhm.
Had I like, I would probably still be in Alabama if my nephew wasn't killed. So my 18-year-old
Oh
nephew
wow.
was shot and killed up in the Bay
Mhm.
Area in El Cerrito, California. Right.
Mhm.
A couple of days after, so I left. Dropped every. I didn't really have much to drop because life was already kicking my ass. But I dropped everything that I had going on in Alabama. I flew to Oakland. Like, which is why my dog is still in Alabama. I'm about to pay the $1,200 to get her shipped back over to the other side of the
Well,
country.
that's your
But
dog. I thought that was your mom's dog, but that's your dog.
no, so the dog that you just saw me with, that's my mom's dog. My dog is a
Oh,
pit
okay.
bull. She can't fly.
What? Oh, okay.
She weighed 90 pounds, and she about
Oh,
to be
she's a
two
big
years
dog.
old. Yeah. So, but yeah, my nephew, he was shot, he was killed, 18 years old. Like, but
Oh,
again,
that's
my life,
terrible.
where I'm from, how the streets is out there, and everything that's going on. But they had arrested the guy, right? The little kid, he was probably 21, shot my nephew, 18 years old, and we just
Mm.
got word that they dropped the charges.
Why? Who dropped the charges? Who dropped the charges? Like, why can't they drop? I thought that that would be a prosecutor. The state would prosecute no matter what.
The state
Cause
prosecutor dropped the charges.
oh, that's crazy. Well,
That's
that's
what I
not
said.
even. That's not even justice for the family.
At all.
That's terrible. Terrible. Anyway, we better wrap it up before this thing probably stops on us.
But wait, you didn't let me ask my question. I didn't get to play
Go
my
ahead,
game.
ask your question.
Okay, so we're gonna play this or that, or would you rather? I'm gonna ask you. I mean, okay. So I'm gonna ask four questions, right?
Okay.
And when you answer this or that or whatever you would rather, I need an explanation as to why.
Okay.
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 So, um, would you rather a call first thing in the morning or in the middle of the night?
Mm. First thing in the morning.
Why?
Because in the middle of the night, that's too startling for me. I'm like, nobody should be calling me in the middle of the night unless somebody died. So that's the kind
Right.
of mentality that you have when you get a call in the middle of the night. Somebody's dead, or somebody's calling you tell you somebody you love is dead.
Very true. But I will
Yeah.
tell you, given my experience, people die all fucking day long.
True. True. But it's always that um I don't know. Every time
It's
I've
more
gotten bad
so of you don't
news,
have a fucking reason to be calling me at this time unless somebody dead.
exactly. Most of the time, it's you have no reason to be calling me unless somebody's dead. I remember when my dad passed, we had to call. We didn't have a car, and my dad had passed at my mom's house. She lived off Bonanza and Lamb, and we lived in Central Las Vegas. So we had to call Lizzie's dad, my daughter's best friend at the time. She
In
was
the
in
middle
junior
of the
high
night?
school in the middle of the night to go drive us over because the coroner had gotten to the house, so
Right.
I could see my dad for the last time.
Right. But if you
So
all would have requested, they would have left him there longer.
he was there a while. Like the corners, he was in the
They
bathroom. He
take
was
a
stuck
long
in the
time
bathroom. The corners had to take the hinges off the bathroom door to get
because
his
he
body out.
he dropped
And
by the door and you couldn't get it open.
yes, so it was
That's
like he was
wild.
blocked. His body was blocking the door, and so
When was this?
it was okay. So it was the day I was supposed to. It was the day
What
I got
year?
promoted to activations. Remember in RDI, I went to
Oh,
activations.
okay, it was a
It
long
was
time ago.
July 9th, 2012. That was my first day. That morning was supposed to be my first day in training in activations, and my dad died that night.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so I remember the
So
day.
I don't
Yeah.
want to cut you off, but
Mhm,
two things I want to mention.
mhm,
Damn. So one was my brother was killed 2013, and the day I
mhm,
was supposed to start training for my new position, where I got a dollar raise at my job, was the
mhm.
morning that he was killed. But God was so gracious to me that the call volume at the call center was so high that my training class didn't get to train. But the day after
Oh,
my brother was killed, I had to go to work unless I would and
I had to
unless
go to work.
I lost
Yeah, me
my
too.
my raise and my position. You know what I mean? So I was at work the very
Exactly.
next
So
day after
that
my
would have
brother
happened
was
to me
killed.
too. Yeah, I had to go to work. I literally had to go to work the next day. So it's like I didn't have the opportunity to not go to training. And I almost fell asleep. I fell asleep listening to people because I had been up all night and I gave my dad a kiss, you know what I mean? I gave his body a kiss and saw him for the last time, then had to go to work. And so it's like I was traumatized. The whole time I was in that department, I was so utterly in a bad funk, like I had a black cloud over me, but I think that I'd never grieved for my dad. So it's like it kind of lingered with me for a year where I just felt
It
like
took you
I
five
hated this
years.
department and everything there was like just horrible and I was just miserable. And even though I did my job and I was good at doing my job, when I wasn't on the phone, it was like this dark cloud. And so I had a lot of people that I talked to who helped me out, and I didn't even know what I was going through.
It took me
Um,
5 years to grieve. I went out on a leave of absence.
yeah,
I had to go to counseling. Like I went to
yeah,
therapy. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it was a long time.
yeah.
But the
But
other
let's
point
go.
that I wanted to make, though, sorry.
Uh-huh,
So the other point I
okay.
wanted to make was, like working in organ procurement about how,
Mm,
um, you know, damn, you lost your dad.
yeah.
Um, Oh, okay, so it was a situation one night where, I worked 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So I'm calling people one,
Mm,
2, 3 o'clock in the morning,
ah,
midnight, 10 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night, the whole nine. And
mhm,
an older gentleman had died, but him and his
mhm.
wife didn't have a phone. So in order to get in contact with them, we had to call the neighbor
Oh wow.
at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning
Oh wow.
for the neighbor to go
That's
next
crazy.
door and knock on the door so that we could talk. It's a very like um it's in a very strict time frame. You know what I mean when it
Mm,
comes to being able to
donate.
recover the organs and being able to take advantage of the
Yeah.
opportunity to donate and give the anatomical gifting. Like there's a time frame for the internal
When
organs
the
and then the external organs. Like
right,
there's a
right.
difference when the heart is beating and then the heart stops.
Yeah.
Like it's a very strict time frame, but it was just crazy when you were saying about how y'all didn't have a car and you had to call your daughter's best friend's
I
mom, and
know.
I was just
I
thinking about
know.
how like I had to
It was
call these
just
people neighbor and they had to go knock on the
right.
door at 2 o'clock in the morning to
Yeah.
wake her up for me to like it's just
Yeah.
shit in life be crazy. But okay, so
Yeah.
but to that question though, it was calling first thing in the morning, calling in the middle of the night. Me personally, I prefer first thing in the morning. I'm just a morning
Hmm.
person, so I'll be up
Yeah.
before the sun come up, before the cock
I
crows,
know that.
however that goes.
Mm-hmm.
I be up. So I prefer you call me first thing in the morning. But honest to God truth, I'm not gonna answer the phone either way. My phone don't ring, it don't vibrate.
You're not gonna answer the phone.
Yeah, so you're not gonna wake me up, you're not gonna disturb my peace. I'm gonna get
Yeah, I
to
don't
you
let the
when I get to
phone
you.
do that to me
That's just how
neither.
my phone is.
It did. For the
Um
first time, I woke up. I got awoken or awakened today by an arbitrary phone call. And usually I'll just decline it, but I answered it. And I think sometimes I answer the phone in my sleep. You know what I mean? Like
mm,
I'm so sleepy that I hear the phone ring, and the first thing I do is just answer it. I did that today, and I was like, nobody there. I hate that shit because it's hard for me to fall asleep.
oh
So
yeah. I'm not
when
answering the
people
phone if
like,
I don't know the
that's why I turn off
number.
my ringer. I turn off my ringer now because I might answer the phone and I'm asleep. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
because it's auto. It's like automatic.
My
It's
ringer
right
stay
next to
off.
me.
My vibrations stay off. Like it never vibrates.
Yeah,
I
don't
don't not a
vibrate.
text message, an email, phone call,
Yeah,
nothing. Like
yeah, mine
nothing
don't vibrate.
disturbs me. Like my phone gets
Mm-mm.
my attention when I'm ready to give it my attention.
Tension, exactly. The phone it has its place. All right,
Yeah.
so let's go to our next question because we gotta do all four.
I feel like this is a good question for you. Talking or listening?
Talking.
Why?
Only because I feel like I can carry a conversation well. I always have things on my mind. So if I had to listen, unfortunately, my brain is still moving, moving, moving. So I'd rather just be talking. Yeah.
That's so crazy. So, I feel like I communicate very well, but I feel like a good part of communication is listening. Like me personally,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I would rather listen. I'm a learner. I like to learn. I like to,
Mm-hmm.
learn, especially about people and their experiences and what they've been through in
Yeah.
life. But as long as I can ask some questions and we get to have some type of dialect in there somewhere, I would much rather listen.
Dialogue, not dialect.
Dialogue, yeah, not dialect. Just
That's
I'm
funny.
dialect.
That would make sense to a certain degree, but no, dialect is how people speak or the different languages. But anyway, um, that was a good one. I like that one. What's the next one?
Cooking or being cooked for.
Mm, I know for a long time in my life it would have been being cooked for, but now I like cook, so now it's cooking. because my husband used to cook for me all the time. I've had that. My best friend's a chef. She cooks for me all the time. But I've never taken the reins of cooking, and now I recently have. So I'm like, I think I'd rather cook. I
I
have
would
a new,
rather cook
I
too.
have my own flavor profiles. I'm developing my own flavor profiles, and they're coming out really great.
Oh,
So I like that.
period. But
Yeah.
I like, to see the pleasure that people get from eating the food that I cook. So I would much rather cook. And
I'm
then
with
I'm
you.
really like skeptical about the food that I eat. Not
Hmm.
necessarily like shit, I don't eat that, but like how was it prepared? What does it taste
Hmm.
like? How does this pair together? Shit like that. Like who
Hmm.
made it? Like we was having a conversation about the drive-through windows and fast food and shit like that. So me personally, I would rather cook. Like I like
Yeah.
cooking for people when I know they like to eat.
Yeah. I think there is a gratification that I get from having people taste my food and thinking it's delicious. And I always want to build on flavor. So it's like I've been observing for such a long time that now I'm like I can take everything that I've learned because I watch a lot of cooking shows, and I've absorbed the knowledge basically. So I can kind of look
Right.
at something and be like, okay, I'm gonna do this with it. Just like you were telling me before, I was like, you can't. Men, boy, well,
Imagine.
younger men have a tendency, like my son, have a tendency to think they can cook, but they don't cook a lot. But I get what you're saying that you can kind of imagine what you want something to taste like,
Oh yeah. But the,
and
the
then
difference
kind of
for me
cook
though
it.
is that I cook a lot. Like I like to entertain. I
Mm-hmm.
like to put on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I was in a relationship, I would come home from work and I would cook for him every night.
Oh, that's
Sometimes
nice.
he'd be like,
That's a
"Oh, I
sweet
could cook, I
person.
could do this, I could do that," but I would cook every night. He was my sous chef, so he would always assist in doing whatever. But
Yeah.
me personally, I enjoy it. Like I even often sometimes think about going to culinary school to see
You
like
might
how that would
want to
be.
do that. I think that if
Yeah.
you have a passion for food, that learning how to do all the techniques, like I remember when my bestie went to culinary school, and the first part of culinary school is cutting. So the first thing you learn how to do is chop shit. And
I
she
like
just
that.
became so good at chopping stuff.
I
But
like
she'd be
that.
chopping arbitrary shit all the time. Like this girl was like grabbing onions and chop, 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 and don't
I
have nothing to do
love
with them.
that.
She don't have
Especially with
nothing
a
to do with
good
onions,
sharp
but she's
knife.
chopping the onions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, she's good. She was really she really worked hard to get to where she is now. She's an executive chef to the stars to a certain degree. Um, but she really worked hard to get there. She still
That's
practices
good.
food. She wakes up. She says she dreams in food. So she dreams about cooking, and then she wakes up, and she's a stay-at-home mom now because her 9-year-old is in homeschool. So, but she
Mhm.
cooks for her husband, who he makes enough to take care of both of them. But she's basically his chef, and so she may just make sure he's well fed because he's borderline diabetic, so she has to make sure that he
Oh,
doesn't have
okay.
too many carbs and too many this or too many
Right.
that. So she's like a
Right.
dietitian to a certain degree for her
I
husband.
feel like I would love to be like I don't think I could be a stay-at-home dad. Um,
I think
but
you would be a great
to
stay-at-home dad.
I'm going to be a great dad regardless.
Yes.
But even if I was a stay-at-home dad, one either like her, my kid would have to be homeschooled because that's going to be my job. Like I'm not going
Hmm.
to be at home all day and then go send you off to somebody else to instill shit in you when I can take the time to do it myself. Or
Yeah.
if I'm going to be a stay-at-home dad and you're going to go to school, then I'm probably going to work a part-time job or something because
Yeah.
one,
I
I
was a
have
stay-at-home
very
mom.
expensive habits, very
Very
expensive habits.
ungratifying position to have because when my kids were babies, I stayed at home for a reason. But I remember I started working 6 months before my kids got out of kindergarten because I was like, I'm sick of this shit. I don't have my own money.
Okay.
My kids are fine. They're able to do things on their own and get themselves ready and shit. So I went to work because it takes a long time to find a job. So when you find a good job, you just keep that. You gotta go. I gotta go work.
Oh Lord, I
So
don't know, cause I be finding jobs left and right.
I'm a professional job finder, so I do find jobs. I find jobs pretty easily, but it takes a lot of effort to find the right job. So
The
I can
right
get a lot of
job,
job
right?
offers, yeah, but I'm gonna pick and choose between the only time I know I'm in the right place when I'm looking for work is when the recruiters start calling me or start emailing me. I want the
Right,
guy from India that I can barely understand calling me about a job for a big company because I know number one, they cost a lot of money to get those recruiters. So only the
right.
bigger companies are using recruiters. That's when I know
Yeah,
I'm in the right atmosphere to get the right job for
right.
me. Yeah,
And see,
because
for
I'm
me,
not.
I feel like I've gotten to the place in my career or in my work life to where like it needs to match with my purpose. Like I'm not just getting up going to
Yeah.
work chasing a check because if I was only solely concerned about getting some money, then I don't have to go to work to do that. You know,
Yeah.
and coming
Money is
into the
the,
pandemic in these
yeah.
recent years has proven that more than anything. You know, like
Yeah.
there's more entrepreneurs and people hustling and creating and doing all type of shit other than getting up, going to work, and clocking dollars for somebody else. But I make the
Yeah.
decision to go work for somebody else that already has something in motion that aligns with what my purpose is in life, which is enhancing the quality of other people's lives and elevating people
Yeah.
and just making shit different. So my work has to be purposeful for me.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna lose me real quick. And even if it
I
is
found that out
purposeful
too.
and the environment or the atmosphere doesn't fit for one what your mission statement is and what your how they say those things where like they have their mission statement and then there is core values.
See,
Like if the
your
atmosphere
core
is
values,
if they don't
right?
align, then I'm
Yeah.
y'all lied to me in the interview, and if I would have lied to y'all on my resume or in my interview, then I would be getting fired. So I'm letting y'all know
Right.
now. These group of people that y'all got working in here, that we don't mesh well. So if I'm not
Yeah.
loving what I'm doing, who I do it for, and who
That
I
was
do it with,
AT&T for
I gotta
me.
go.
Yeah, AT&T was had a lack of integrity about their core values. So it's like my example was they used to have Mark Wahlberg selling people to buy into this product for a $200 gift card that they never received. So I was like, I'm not going to continue to tell people that, oh, if you do this, I'm going to send you something because I had four people that I kept in touch with when I was sending them gift cards. I said, if you
Mm,
don't get your gift card, tell me because I'll make sure you get your gift card. Because when I say you're going to get a gift card, you're
you're
going
gonna get a
to
gift
get it
card.
one way or another. And if this
Yeah,
company doesn't back up what it offers, I'll back it up for you. You see what I'm saying? Because I said, go call four reps, make them give you $50 credit on your bill 3 months in a row or whatever. You could call them every couple of weeks and go get your
I mean, I'm gonna
$200.
make one phone call because y'all got me fucked up one time, and I want that whole $200 credited to
Right,
my
but the
account
reps can't give
now.
out 200, but we can give out up to 100. So it's like,
That's
but
fine.
our managers on the back end will push back credits that they don't think are valid just to keep their numbers down. So when
Don't
I
worry
started
about it. Put me
learning
on the
about how
phone
the
with your
hierarchy
manager.
works, I was like, no, that's not how this should work. You guys are a huge company. You got to stop being so damn greedy and start honoring your word. You see what I'm saying? You got
Honor
to honor
your
your
word.
word.
Honor
And
your
that's why I like
word.
UPS because number one, um, I believe that they honor their word. You know, a lot of times we can't help packages being late because of weather and whatever.
Right.
But I'm also doing something I think is important. You know, healthcare recovery advocate. We're trying to get medication to cancer patients. We're
That's
trying to
what's
make
up.
sure the refrigerated medication are there the next day. So it's like what I do is important, and for me that gives me the kind of
Work ethic that you
level
need
of
to get
work.
your ass
Yeah,
up and go to work.
exactly. I try to do my best when I'm there, and I'm doing my best. I feel like I get great reviews. My quality reviews are at 100 for corporate, and they're at about 90 for my supervisor. But that's fine. I've made some mistakes. I'm not perfect, but I try to minimize making mistakes and try to do I put my best foot forward.
I'm
I'm just
motherfucking perfect, and I dare any
right.
bitch try to tell me otherwise.
I mean, I kind of feel that way. Like I'm good at what the fuck I do. You see what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
make sure of it. But I can't. I have to leave room for error because I've seen my own errors too. So I'm like, yeah, I've noted the wrong count, little things, but it's
Little
whatever.
thing.
Don't get me involved with thinking about work because I'm really. I'll start going all on a tangent.
We
Um,
already an hour and a half into this
I
conversation.
know, I know. What's our last question?
The last question was success or happiness.
Happiness.
Why?
Um, I've had different levels of success. Like I've had endless amounts of money to be able to spend. I've lived in
It
some of
couldn't
the
have been
best.
endless if you still ain't got it, motherfucker.
Well, a person that I knew that cared about me had endless amounts of money to spend at the
Oh,
time. Like we had no
oh.
limits. Like we could go and spend $400 at Target or go buy something for $1,200 or take a trip if we wanted to or buy a
I
car.
didn't
You know
take
what I mean?
endless
It's
amounts
like
of money. Shit, I was doing
right.
that
She
eight
had
months
endless
ago.
amounts of money. Um, I don't know, because her husband was. She usually meets guys with a lot of money, and
Okay,
then
introduce me to her and tell her to take me where she meet them motherfuckers at.
they try to wifey her up. So it's like all of my cousins are beautiful black women, and all of their men have those want to wife you up, so they spoil you, take you here, take you there, buy you houses, da, da, da. And so it's like and that's mainly one of the reasons why I choose happiness as opposed to success, because success can have an emptiness about it. You know
Okay,
what I
but wait
mean?
though. So, but this
Mm,
takes us into how do you personally define success? Are you talking about fortune?
money.
Are you talking about money? Like that's what you call
I
successful?
think success is about money, having lots and lots of money. And and the funny thing is you cannot, because what if you had, like, let's say this YouTube video becomes viral, but it becomes viral without the financial gain. Would you be happy that it went viral in and of itself? Or would you be more gratified that it went viral and now you make money? You see what I'm saying? Success to me equates to money, period. Because who
Right. But
cares
I mean, well, I wouldn't
about
say, I
anything
don't
else?
know, because if the goal was to make money and then you made money, then you're successful. But if the goal was for the video to go viral and it went viral and you didn't make any money, then you still obtained success.
I wouldn't be as happy. Something going viral and not making money, I wouldn't be as happy. I've gone
I
viral, see,
mean, I'd
because
be
I know
cool.
what it
It don't
is. I've
matter to
gone
me.
viral before on Instagram many, 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 many times over, and I don't make any money. So it's like it's
Why you don't
ungratifying.
make no money?
Instagram doesn't pay you. Instagram
That's
doesn't
not
pay
how
you.
it
So if you
works.
get a viral video on Instagram, the best you could do is try to ask for sponsorships, or maybe somebody might pay you to advertise on your page, but that's it. And my page never reached over 2,500, 20. I think I'm at 2,500, and it's like
2,500 what?
followers on Instagram. How many followers do you have on Instagram?
No, no, like 4,000.
Right. I would at least think I want to go to 5,000, but
But that
I've
ain't
never
nothing.
broken that. But I've had videos that got over 100,000 views. You know what I mean? I've had videos that have gone 300,000. My one video, I have one reel on Facebook that has over 400,000 views. And it's Beyonce when Michelle fell down at 106 in Park, and Kelly and Beyonce just kept on dancing, and Michelle had to pick herself up. That's viral on Facebook under my name. And so we are done. We are done. The time is right now that we gonna finish. All right, so okay, so you have your line that you're going to say. I have my own line that I'm gonna say after.
What
So
line
what
am
is
I
your
gonna
line that you
say?
say at the end of the what is your line that you say at the end of the podcast? He said, "May the whiskey
Whatever
fill the
he
barrel."
said.
He said, "Let may the whiskey fill the barrel." He's just being silly. You said, "Let it be what it is."
Let the tequila fill a barrel. Let that shit
Right,
be what
right.
it is.
And mine is let it be what it is.
Let it be
That's
what
my
it
little
is.
thing.
It is
They're
what it is.
Danetisms. Let it be what it is a Danetism. And until the
And it's
next
conversations with the net, so let it be
conversation,
what it is.
exactly. Until the next conversation, let it be what it is. Oh, that's a good one. We can combine it. You're a genius. You're a genius.
What it TI is. That's why she invited me here because of my genius esque.
You're a genius to me, but you're like my
Genius
son, genius.
esque.
Like my
Your
son
son
is
is
a
a genius.
genius. So you're kind of like my son, Andre.
But your son is a genius.
Huh?
Your son is a genius. And his name Cameron.
Yes, my son is a
What's your
genius.
daughter name?
Kennedy,
Kennedy.
my
Okay,
baby.
I
And then I
get
have
it.
an older bonus baby. His name is Andre Jr.
I know his name Andre. I didn't need to
Andre
ask that.
Jr.
And
Yeah,
that's
that's my
Andre's
big
son. But I knew
baby.
Kennedy was y'all first baby together.
Yes, that's our first baby together. She a big old
We
28
spent
year old now.
we spent so much
Andre
time
Jr.
together.
is gonna
Damn,
be 34.
my age. Right.
So you guys both born in 89.
Yeah, I'll be
Yeah,
34
yeah.
this year too.
Andre's gonna be 34 this year. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, he's here, so he don't want to talk. All right, Andre. I'll see you until the next conversation. It'll be what it is.
Okay. It'll be
All
what it
right.
is.
All right.
TIMs.
Goodbye.
Bye.
I saved the bird. Nice. I'm like, good job.